But what would you do now? I mean, so now you're vaccinated, right?
Yeah. Yep.
I'm vaccinated. I am not really changing, even though I live in Provincetown, which has turned out to be ground zero. Although again, when I look at that, I think, God, if you had any idea what was happening in Provincetown those 2 weeks, like 60,000 people crammed into all these tiny little spaces in a town of only meant to house 4,000. God knows how much sex, God knows how much partying, God knows how much discoing, God knows how many, underground basements and so on. And we got, out of 60,000 people, 800 people got something like 800, of which 7 were hospitalized and no one died.
And how many people of those people who were hospitalized were vaccinated? Nobody, right?
No, I think several of them were.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm afraid. In other words, these things happen.
Yeah.
But if you look at that more generally, that's a success story for vaccines. It's not a failure story. It's a success story, right? And we do want to get back to living.
So what would I do right now?
Yeah.
There are a couple things I do right now. So apropos of the book, well, actually, never mind the book never mind the book for a minute. I would require vaccines for anybody getting on airplanes, anybody coming to my hotel. I mean, this is kind of happening anyway, but if I were president of the United States, I would encourage anybody who wants to restrict access to to public places on the basis of vaccination status, have at it. So I would find ways to punish people who don't get the vaccine. I mean, I think they're imposing the social cost of these people, their people's behavior is incredible. Now, I kind of think that the virus is going to drive the behavior anyway, that enough, right-wing talk radio hosts are going to end up in ICUs that will get the message. So I think, but I would try to accelerate that. The things I would do in response to the clear weakness in our first response, I would remove disease control from the Center for Disease Control. I would just cease. I would eliminate the fiction. I abandon the fiction that we have this institution that is actually set up to control disease. It isn't. It keeps failing because it's being asked to do something it is constitutionally incapable of doing.
It's more a research center, you think, than it is actually an executive function.
Yes,
right?
That's right. It's an academic enterprise, and it's an academic enterprise that is scared of its own shadow and is politicized. And I might use what I did there as a model for what to do with other kinds of threats, like, I don't know, threats to cybersecurity, where I create a career position, not a presidential appointee, that was disease control. They put it in the White House. I don't know where you put it. I guess you wouldn't put it in the White House. You put it beside the White House. You put it in Washington somewhere, and have that office make recommendations about how you change the system so that they can actually control disease.
Right.
So I would use this moment to try to create a structure. So if this happens again, as it will, I don't think it's going to be another 100 years. And I don't actually think this came out of the blue in the way that 1918 came out of the blue. There were plenty of hints that our relationship between human beings and nature is broken. And that relationship, the broken relationship, is leading to the jump of these viruses from animals into people, and that's going to happen again and again. So there are things you can do that, in fact, Joe DeRisi, one of my characters, was trying to do: set up a system of tripwires around the country, so that the minute some new pathogen emerges, we know that we don't find out about it 3 months later. There are these kinds of things that can be done, but that only is going to happen at the level of the federal government, and only will happen if someone feels actually responsible for controlling disease as opposed to sort of observing it and reporting it. So I think that's the first thing I would do.